here. We're just talking about sometimes like technical jargon or just lighting. So I thought I'd highlight for you guys that if you're able, if you have some time to check out the Mass Daily Focus page, MuslimAmericanSociety.org/focus, you'll see that beyond the links to the event itself, we've started sharing some information about the podcast that we've been hosting. Mashallah, I've had just recently Sister Dua Hagag, who also works with the FYI, and she had a great session about, not only what is Family Odyssey, but her experience and, advice for people during this time. We also have we have a series going on with Quran Reflect, and of course we'll share that as we talk about the ayat today. And there's also a daily Tarbiyah project, which is, you get SMS messages every morning, and right now we're pulling it from a book called Transformed by Worship. That's also a book you can purchase on the Mass site right now in the online store. Can't recommend it highly enough. It's an amazing book by Dr. Salah Sultan that we adapted and translated. So, of course, take a moment to check those out.
Razad, your audio just cut out.
Now, inshallah, but you'll be here tomorrow. So let's move you back to attendee. And let me see if I can find Sheikh Omar Jabi. MashaAllah, Sheikh Omar, you're here. Bismillah, let's get you on here. Of course, a shout out to Zaini Zoom. I love that little nickname, and so welcome. Okay, I think we're going to kick things off. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome everyone again to the Mass Daily Focus program. I need to refocus myself. So Bismillah, thank you everyone for joining us. We have an amazing group with us tonight, and we're very excited to be hosting Brother Stephen Hernandez, Sister Maryam Khwaja. This is an evening focused, as we have for a couple of other nights. We're focused on the topic of strengthening your marriage or marriage strengthening in tight spaces. We've been keeping this theme of the family going on every Friday, so we're so happy to have them joining us. And of course, mashallah, Sheikh Omar Jabi, as always, looking sharp, and we'll kick things off with ayat of Quran with you, inshallah, Sheikh Omar, and then we'll jump into the program with everyone else. So Bismillah when you're ready.
So I just want to make sure it's really Fajr, right?
Yes.
Oh. طيب أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. دعاء.
Yes, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانيته وسره فأهل أنت أن تعبد وأهل أنت أن تحمد وأنت على كل شيء قدير. اللهم لك الحمد بكل نعمة أنعمت بها علينا في قديم أو حديث أو خاصة أو عامة أو سر أو علانية. لك الحمد بالإسلام لك الحمد بالإسلام لك الحمد بالإسلام ولك الحمد بالإيمان ولك الحمد بالقرآن ولك الحمد بالمال والأهل والمعافاة. تبت عدونا وأظهرت أمننا وجمعت فرقتنا ومن كل ما سألناك ربنا أعطيتنا فلك الحمد على ذلك حمدا كثيرا ولك الشكر شكرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الفتن، اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الوباء، اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الفتن ما ظهر منها وما بطن برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. لا حول لنا ولا قوة إلا بك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم احفظنا، اللهم احفظنا من كل سوء، اللهم احفظنا من كل سوء برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك وأنعم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Allahumma ameen. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Omar. And thank you so much. You've joined us Friday nights pretty consistently. Of course, these ayat are pretty incredible. I hope in the future we'll also get to tap you for some of those really beautiful nasheed. So I hope, inshallah, next time I'll be in touch with you. We'll plan that out. I think I've heard, a lot of positive things from that. And I know we really appreciate your time and value your time. So may Allah bless you. I will go ahead and invite you back to the attendee panel, and then we'll kick things off with our group here. Jazakallah khairan. Bismillah. So welcome everyone again. This is the Mass Daily Focus program. And mashallah, we do have, as someone said here, you thought my brother Stephen was our panelist tonight. He is. We also have Sister Maryam Khwaja. Let me see if I can get you guys in a different view here. Is everyone seeing this kind of panel view? Let's see. If anyone can confirm that for me. I'm trying to explore these different views that exist here on Zoom. So hopefully that's something that you guys are seeing right now. Jazakallah khair again. I'm really excited about tonight's program. In a moment, I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, as well as the topic itself. So tonight, as we have in other nights, and particularly Friday nights, we've really made an effort to switch the program from just like a keynote speaker giving one long session. So yeah, it's only seeing me now. We'll see if we can figure that out. I'll play around with that, inshallah, to see how we can sort that different view out, inshallah, for you guys. Excuse me. So I'm hoping, inshallah, in this particular program tonight, we really get to engage you, the audience. Mashallah, we have people here with us in the Zoom itself. Tonight, it looks like we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. So welcome to the viewers on YouTube. I hope that we'll figure out some way to post to the Facebook folks. We had some problems last night with it as well as tonight. Obviously, mashallah, the world is all on the internet right now. So I can only imagine, what's happening to the servers there. But either way, we're moving forward, mashallah. We're coming up on the 4th full week, inshallah, this Sunday will be 4 full weeks of this program. It's been a real blessing, for myself, and I know for all of us working on this project, the Mass National team. We have great volunteers. We have our staff here, and I really appreciate the FYI, mashallah, their team and their staff have done amazing work to partner with us on this program in particular, and I know they have a lot going on as well. So I didn't get a chance to tell Stephen, but I saw him the other night, or just a couple of days ago. Was it the Youth Live program? You might be muted still. Sorry, I muted both of y'all. I'll unmute both of you here. Bismillah. So you're both unmuted now. I apologize. I did that earlier.
Yeah, it was a week ago, I think today. Like I said, I had just wrapped up a big project, so I was very, very tired. But I think it was about a week ago.
Okay, gotcha.
That was a
Alhamdulillah.
good time.
Yeah, it was really nice, and I appreciated that. MashaAllah, the youth team, shout out to, the figurehead there, the name is Mohammed Kibriya, but of course, Sister Munira, and there's a whole youth team behind all these excellent projects. So may Allah bless them. We'll link more of those upcoming projects, and at the end, I'll make some announcements as well. But again, tonight's Mass Daily Focus program is titled, Marriage Strengthening in Tight Spaces. And I can imagine, I can't even imagine what it's been like for everyone else. I know this experience has been a challenge for me, even though I was working from home before. And so I hope that we can benefit from the panelists. So if we don't mind, I'll start off with just a quick introduction from each of you, and then we'll dive into the topic. So I guess I'll start with you, Sister Maryam, and I'll work my way clockwise to the right here.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Jazakallah khairan for having me here. My name is Maryam Khwaja. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have a practice out in New York City called Nasiha Counseling. And in addition to that, I work with FYI to do some of their presentations with them. This is actually my very first time that I'm presenting with FYI, so I'm excited to be here.
MashaAllah, welcome. And this is, I hope, going to be an excellent experience. Yeah, I think it'll be a natural process, and you won't be able to stop having these events, inshallah. And yourself, Brother Stephen.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Steven Hernandez. I'm having battery problems right now. If you see me looking down, it's because my charger is charging, but then it stops charging. So if you see me fiddling, it's just I'm trying to make sure like my power is flowing into my laptop. So if I get kicked off, I'll sign back on with my phone. But so far so good.
No problem.
So my day job, I work for a large, medium-sized bank in the compliance and philanthropy areas. So I work in corporate philanthropy. But for the past 10 years, I've worked for the FYI. I'm one of their community educators, so I'm trained in a number of marriage and relationship programs. I am not a counselor like Maryam. I am an educator, so my work is really focused on communication and skills building for relationships. And I do that with the FYI and in other communities outside of the FYI around with singles, couples, and families.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair. I think I think we have the right crew here to talk about this subject. So again, as more people continue joining, so I'll just remind everyone, alhamdulillah, the Mass Daily Focus program. Again, the panel tonight is on marriage strengthening in tight spaces. So there is, I think the first question is really an important question that I have as well that I thought I'd get you guys' thoughts on. So can we really use this time to strengthen our marriage? And it feels like everything is hanging by a thread. It feels like everything is kind of up in the air right now. And I've also heard many people talk about, especially people in the sort of counseling and education space, as well as, in particular, Dr. Marwa Azab, I remember highlighted this about a couple of weeks ago, that, it's okay to not be super perfect at everything right now. And so tell me, I guess I'll start with you, Sister Maryam, is this really the time, or can we really use this time to strengthen our marriage?
Well, yes. And the short answer is yes. But if you think about it, either it gets better or it gets worse, right? So so when you look at it like that, then I think that, yes, we have no choice but to make this, or to strive to make this an improvement on our relationships. So the reality is, though, that this is a very anxious time. I don't have to highlight that to everybody. We're all living this experience. This is all something that's very new and it's unknown for all of us. And how to navigate this circumstance in which this overnight we were told that we're going to be home. I live in New York City. We live in apartments. Apartments are small. There's a lot of people in a very cramped space, right? So adjusting to this experience of being around each other 24/7 is new, and it's huge, and it's not easy at all. And that's okay, right? So I did, in doing some research for this talk, I did see some reports stating that there was an increase in divorces in China that they're noticing. And there's been, it's been commonly reported that there's been an increase of domestic violence incidents in relationships since we've been quarantined like this. So something's going on here. Now the question is, are these relationships that would be, that are, you know, were already on the path to ending and then this just expedited them? Probably, there's some of that. But then there's also relationships that are kind of in the middle, right? That are either some good and some bad. And the challenges that they have to work through have just overnight increased, right? And so some people can rise up and find a way to constructively deal with these circumstances, or it can get the best of us, right? Our fears, our anger, our frustration, our feeling isolated and disconnected from people in the world. And all of these negative feelings, if they're not channeled in an appropriate way, can take control of our emotions. And if we're using our partner not as a support, but almost like a punching bag, if we're projecting all of those emotions onto our partners, then it's going to lead to more conflict.
Thank you. And I think this is, you know, just before I hand it off to you, Stephen. So it's interesting, the data you presented and this question of like, you know, is this a time, can this be the time to build it? I just want to highlight for the audience as well that this is not exclusive to marriages. I think a lot of the advice that we're going to hear, it can be applied from parent to child relationships, child to parent relationships, brother to sister, sister to brother, all types of relationships here could be at risk. And I think the domestic violence statistics have been very unfortunate. Although, you know, a lot of these are realities of the world we live in. So I just want to highlight for everyone who's listening, you know, just if you're not married and you're not in this boat right now, there might be advice here that you can apply in the future. But a lot of this, and I think you guys will be able to clarify as well, some of the things might be specific, but most of them will be general. So to hand it off to you, Stephen, you know, is this the time to, or can this be the time to strengthen these relationships?
So I would use two phrases here, two words for us to really think about. Disruption and intentionality. Is that this is such a disruptive time in everyone's lives, right? And so I like that we're like tweaking the phrase, like, is this the time? Because you see a lot of people, and again, I think well-intentioned, like, this is the time to write that book, or to get in shape, or, you know, fix that car, or, you know, whatever it may be. But also, and I'm speaking for myself. Like, again, I work a 9-to-5 corporate job, so the banking industry, which is where I'm in a lot of ways, is kind of old school in the sense of like you need to be there at 8:30 with your tie on. You know, a lot of the industry still like that. But this is a time too where people are trying to. They feel that they have to be productive, that they have to be maybe even more productive than they normally would be, because, like, you know, they're under the gun of like, well, I'm working from home, so I have to kind of show more results. And I get where that comes from. I feel that way, which is not a healthy thing to feel. But when we're already in such a time of stress and disruption, that we're externally focusing on things that, you know, maybe are not the best. So in marriage and relationship education, we talk a lot about intentionality, that, you know, we should try to be as intentional as we can with this forced time of like, okay, so, you know, like I do have some time to spend with my partner and really get to know them. Or as you said, our spouses, I mean, not just our spouses, our children, or maybe our siblings. And so there's an opportunity there that we can use. But that doesn't mean that we have to, or we may even be successful, because people are going to be dealing with this time of disruption in a lot of different ways. Some people may really struggle I saw early, I think like the first week or two, I saw like this funny meme where it was like, you know, checking out on your extroverted friends because they're probably not doing very well. And again, you laugh, but like a lot of people who are very used to not just like being out and about physically, but really their bucket is filled with external events, external like interactions, they really are having a hard time. And so, you know, again, we need to be intentional with our interactions. We need to be intentional with ourselves, and kind of give ourselves some slack in a certain way, because there's a lot of outside people saying, you need to be doing this. Well, that might not be possible right now, but you should make the intention to try.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and it's interesting, and I invite the audience to join with me on this. Each of these points always seems to touch on the overarching theme of the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace and blessings be upon him. He was such an amazing example and role model for us. Everything about our Islam, everything about our understanding about how to live our lives is modeled, and we try our best to model after him. And this subject I find is so valuable because that relationship that he had with his wives and the example that he set both for men and women as how to be the best example. You know, I myself know I'm falling very short of that. And if my wife walked in here and expressed that, she's the one that knows the most. And on top of that, you know, usually you have the day to go out and be busy. You have times of travel, whatever it might be, or even the social interactions to balance between that time. But it all seems to be like compressed into not necessarily a pressure cooker, but the environment just seems to be limiting. Although it's, at least in my case, and I'm very grateful, we live in a neighborhood we can kind of walk outside, and it's not as densely populated area. So I can't say that's the same maybe in New York or somewhere else. And I had a friend here in San Francisco who said he is more of an extroverted person, like you spoke about, but he actually was experiencing, and others might have had this experience as well. He hadn't left yet to go stay with his family, so he's the only person in the apartment. And he was trying to wait, you know, a decent amount of time, but after a week or two, it really started to take a toll on him. So I think some of these perspectives that you guys are sharing are valuable for anyone in any condition. So maybe if I can, sort of make a transition here. I think we've laid out somewhat of the challenge that exists. Do you guys think that there's any specific advice here that you would apply, or do you think that there's anything about the situation now that's very different when you start to think about advice and direction and how to, you know, help people through these times? Like, let's say if we were to ask about, you know, what's good at conflict resolution techniques, right? If we pose the question of what are good conflict resolution techniques, do you think that question would be answered differently if you were, you know, outside of this time or inside of this time? And of course, what are some of those conflict resolution techniques that you would suggest that we try in this current environment? So I'll hand it to you, Sister Maryam.
So I do think that this is a little bit more of a unique circumstance because I kind of feel like our resources have dwindled a little bit because of the coronavirus, right? So things where, just when there's conflict, right? There's times where we need to take space, right? We need to kind of recognize our own feelings and our own needs, and then as do our partners, and kind of when there's high tension, if it's going in a destructive way, it's better to take space and to step away for a little bit and cool down before we continue in that conversation, right? Because once people are in that mode of anger, they're no longer listening to each other. It's no longer a conversation that's collaborative. It becomes about attack and defend, right? And that's a destructive place to be in, right? And so for me, I know my coping is going out and getting some air and taking a walk does wonders for me, right? If I can go and I can go exercise, it does wonders for me, right? And I can't do that now, right? So there might be a lot more bottled up tension in the home, right? And the person that you're angry and upset with is right in front of your face every 2 seconds, right? You turn around and they're there. You turn around and they're there. And so it might be harder to escape. So I think we need to, as individuals, recognize our own triggers. What are things that increase our tension? What are things that that make us mad, right? When are we starting to get upset, right? There are physical bodily responses that we have to anger. that we can track and be aware of in ourselves, right? And so it's much harder to walk away from a conflict when when both parties are at 100% in their anger, right? So when you're starting to get upset, right, that's when is the appropriate time and the most effective time to take a step back, cool down, collect your thoughts, and revisit the conversation, right? When both parties are calm, right? So I think that challenge becomes much more difficult, right? So here there might be now conversations that intentional conversations about the space at home, right? So as Stephen was talking a little bit about the challenges of kind of managing the work schedule versus home life in the home can be very tricky, right? Unless we set boundaries about where we work and where we play, right? The entire home or apartment can become the workspace, right? They can become places of conflict and disagreement and doing that, right? So maybe also there's opportunities in saying, okay, does the man have in the relationship have a man cave that they can retreat to, right? That might be his personal space to cool down. Does a woman have a room or a space or something to do that? And if there's not already that set up, then maybe there can be these designated nooks that people can go to kind of have their own space and do their own processing and cool down, right? That I think is a very big and often unused tool that people have, right? That there's this need we're having this argument, we need to come to a resolution now. And now doesn't always mean that it's going to be effective or successful.
Nice. Thank you. And just as those triggers, I think, were really important, those couple of items that you highlighted there. And I encourage anyone who's watching this, if I know in previous nights we've had people who have, kind of taken notes or shared their perspectives. And thank you, Abir, for the point that you mentioned there as well, in terms of, how the family should approach this. And so as I hand it off to you, Stephen, what are your thoughts on some of these sort of conflict resolution techniques, how they could be applied for families?
I would take it back to a really kind of basic level, in the sense of really trying to understand your partner and where their family of origin is. So this is something I thought about in my own relationship, and talked to some friends about this. If you, for whatever reason, are not close to your family, like physically, or just not used to, like, I was joking with my wife about this. My mother is not someone who would want me to call her every day. She certainly would want me to visit every day. That's just not how she is. So if I called her every day, that would annoy her. But I know for a lot of people, at a minimum, they call their mother once a day. They may visit 2 or 3 times a week. And that's something they may not be able to do right now. They probably should, depending on what state that they're in right now. And so what I mean by this is just one example of really trying to understand what your partner's usual routine is and what may be missing right now during this time of quarantine. If they're used to visiting their mother, spending time with their father, visiting their brothers, what have you, and they can't do that right now, that may really be taking a toll on them, and really trying to understand, like, you may be fine with that because maybe you hate your brother or your parents are gone, or that's just not the kind of relationship that you have. So it's just, you don't feel a lack there. That's maybe something they may be feeling very keenly. And so they may react very strongly to, you not putting your shoes away. It's not about the shoes, right? It's about something that they're missing, or they're feeling a pain that they may not be able to express because it's hard. And so really just trying to be aware of, like what your partner's family structure may have been, or how, again, I use that term disruption again, how disruptive this may have been to their family or personal routine, and trying to be understanding about that.
Nice. I appreciate that. This is it's an interesting time because we often it's even difficult sometimes to apply these techniques when you're just learning about them. So I'm wondering, these strategies that you guys are applying, how easy is it for someone and to really apply them or to be aware of them? I think when you talked about sometimes we're unable to even know that we're in the moment of conflict. So maybe even before we apply these strategies, do you guys have some thoughts? Either of you can jump in about, what should be that trigger, that reminder to us that, wait a minute, this might not be a healthy moment. Let me see if I could, apply one of these strategies.
So as I had mentioned before, right, our body starts going through physical changes when we start getting angry and upset, or something is hitting us very personally, right? So for some people, their voice gets louder. For other people, they might clench their fists. They might start getting a sweaty brow. They might start having an elevated heartbeat or things like that, right? They might feel sweaty, right? Their voice might shake a little, right? So for me, these have been signs, right? And again, when I first started this in this profession, in my many years ago, I wasn't aware of these things, right? But as doing the work and talking about this, and kind of it forced me to also look within myself and see when this happens to me, right? And also what I was noticing is that people would say to me, oh, you're getting angry. And I'm like, I'm not getting angry, right? That's when you get even louder, right? You don't tell that raging bull that they're getting angry, right? So so starting to look inward, right? And how we can do that. There's part of that is doing this, like being aware of your bodily actions and everything. But I tell all my clients to journal, right? It is a way for us to reflect within ourselves, to take stock in what we are experiencing, right? And Salah, I think, is another place where we have the opportunity to do this. Allah has carved out for us 5 times a day where we take a break from whatever we're doing and we turn to him, right? And we stop, and ideally, doing dhikr and dua afterwards. This is an opportunity for us to reflect about where we are, what our needs are, and ask of Allah, right? And this is so healing for us, right? And we can do something like that with our partners, right? And which is something that another thing that I will work with my couples when they come in for counseling to do. We're doing a morning check-in, right? So getting up in the morning saying, how are you feeling, right? Asking each other this, right? What do you want to accomplish today, and how can I help you get there, right? And so I think that can be a way for us to get really connected to where we are as individuals, where our partners are at, and how to support each other in our goals.
MashaAllah. I hope you won't bill me for all the notes I'm taking and the advice. I hope I can apply this particular one in the mornings. I do a very bad job of just kicking the morning off and just getting busy before I can ask, my wife how she's doing. Hopefully she'll notice that I try to do something different there. Also for yourself, Stephen, I guess as we start to think about, the situation that we're in, the environment that we're in, this particular time is a very unique time. And I recognize for everyone who is listening, and families and communities, and just globally, it's very difficult for everyone to really process even what's happening. And we're only hearing really part of the story here. But maybe to flip it and look at it from a little more of a positive side, do you think there are things that people can start doing now, spouses between each other, or parents and children, that would be maybe good actions or good habits, rituals that they can apply, similar to this one of, asking that question, how you were doing, that will make this time into something more positive, something more memorable after this event and time has passed?
Let me preface by saying this is something I am still trying to do for myself. And again, I always encourage people who I work with to start small, because that's easy. It's easier to achieve. It could be something as simple as pick a series of books that you're going to read with your kids. It could be Harry Potter. It could be whatever it may be. But that's something you can always look on. It's like, we started that series during this time, and we read all of it together, and we read every night together, or we worked on our prayer, or we journaled together, or we built something in the backyard. So when you look back in your backyard, you see like the treehouse, or a tree that you planted, something simple like that, in a time of like, oh, that was a scary, bad time, but we were together as a family. And then as your kids grow, or whatnot, like, you're the apple tree that's back there. In 2020, there was a terrible, scary pandemic, but like we planted this tree and we did that together, and you were only this tall when we planted this tree, and like how tall you are, something like that. Like, and that again, there's that phrase of being intentional about, instead of just like zombieing out in front of the TV or your tablet, trying to find something, and it could be the most basic thing is doing a word search together, playing together, reading a book together, what have you. Doing something together where you're making those memories together is what's going to transform this, transmute it to like a very scary and isolating thing in your own home, something where you're doing something together as a family. That's not necessarily easy to do when you're tired and stressed out yourself, but we must try to be intentional about those things.
That makes a lot of sense, and I really appreciate that concept of intentionality. I know that, within the Mass Osra program and our Tarbiyah programs, and it's across the board in the Muslim community, there's always an emphasis on intentions. We learn about that very early. It's always reiterated, and it's an opportunity for me to take a moment to renew my intentions about why I'm here, and the opportunity to be a part of this program, as well as for the audience to do the same. I ask Allah to put, barakah in this time for us and make it a benefit for us and everyone that's participating. I love that you mentioned, building something. My son is at that age, almost 2, where he's really enjoying the experience. And I have to be honest, like I've been through it's been very chaotic, and we haven't figured out even to give him the quality time. Now I'm realizing if I do start with something small like that, that might create a practical way for me and him to remember this time back, and also for my wife and myself, or anybody else, to go beyond just the talking every day about how bad everything is. So I appreciate that. And same, I guess, same question for yourself, Sister Maryam, the question of, what positive habits, exercises that you would suggest. I love the journaling one that you mentioned, and I don't recall anyone ever mentioning journaling and salah in the same, sentence even. And so I just never made that connection. I've always wanted to get into journaling. I don't know what it is. There's a barrier there for me. But alhamdulillah, in salah, I really always feel like I'm kind of, in a sense, mental journaling, at least in front of Allah. I can really put everything out there. So I'm gonna see if I can do that more consciously as I move forward. But along with that, what are other advices that you might share in terms of rituals or habits that people can create now to make a more positive experience?
Along the lines of what Stephen has said, right? Adding opportunities for positive time together, right? So this is, there are, there's building those memories. If we can't go out to have those memories, we can also do things indoors. People can have date nights, right? Where they decide to order in one day, they actually dress up and look nice for their partners. Phones are away, and you're actually having positive conversations, right? No phones. And also I would add another rule, no coronavirus, right? You need to shut that out a little bit and kind of have conversations that are other than that, this big thing that just immediately puts us in a place of stress. I think this might be a good time to actually start talking about feelings because, as Muslims, as I'm brown and I was not raised to talk about feelings, right? And so this has been something that we've had to work on, right? And that can increase connection, right? Conversations that are meaningful can also be the thing that stands out. So even in, if people are talking about their best dates, right, with their partners, or their best outings with their partners, oftentimes it's less about the experience and more about the conversation during that experience. So why wait to those few and select opportunities? Why not do that at home? Why not make dinner time a time of connection, a time of shutting off the TV, shutting off the phones, right? And just talking to each other, maybe cooking together, maybe doing, I love the building thing too, right? And having these kind of activities and shared goals together that you guys can embark on. But it's about making time for that, right? There's so many distractions, right? We have to be able to put an end to work, right? We have to be able to, take time to connect with people, but then at a certain point, shut that off so that we can connect with our partners and with our families at home, right? We don't need to be on social media so much, right? It's just, these things are distracting us from the actual thing that can bring us so much more satisfaction in our lives, right? Which is our partner and our families.
Yeah, honestly, I can't express enough how this session so far, and I we have to recognize that people are in different situations right now. People are dealing with, family difficulties. I know many people who are supporting their families through this difficult time, extended families and friends. People are struggling with, losing jobs. And I fully recognize that. And I know we can do more to support, everyone. But to be able to really give, with love and with care, we have to be able to have a positive environment that we're a part of. And there's no reason why we can't be a part of that positive experience externally and still maintain, a healthy and happy, home environment. So again, thank you guys. We're not done yet. I just had to thank you at this point as well, because inshallah, you guys will get, a reminder or some message, hopefully, from my wife about how much positive has come out of this. And I ask Allah to help me to live by these things that you guys are sharing, to be an example. So I wanted to see if I can get you guys, and I wanted to have a specific question for you, Maryam, because when you talked about the emotion piece, hey, I'm struggling with that same thing. Maybe if you can give us like a quick 30-second example of what that experience, what that sounds like when you're dealing with your emotions. Like, how should I even start recognizing my emotions or speaking about them?
So how do we recognize? So basically, there is a direct correlation between our thoughts and our words and our actions. So our thoughts, our feelings, and our words and our actions, like these are all connected, right? And so there are things that we might be feeling in our gut. They might feel like a heaviness inside of us. They might be a mood. It might be reflective in the mood with which we get up and we approach the day and how we welcome it. Is it that I don't want to get out of bed, right? Why don't you want to get out of bed? What is the emotion behind that, right? So there is that. That's where it can come from, right? What it looks like if you don't. So say I am feeling very stressed out and scared about the stability of my job, and I am super stressed out. I can be my go into the kitchen, my partner is making breakfast and he messes up on the eggs, right? He makes them wrong. And I can just scream like, you messed up the eggs again, right? So that is me taking my stress and not expressing it. I am spewing it out, right? I'm acting on it, right? And my partner would be like, what is your problem, right? I just made you breakfast, sorry, but did you need to scream at me, right? So there immediately comes this moment of disconnect, right? Where I walk in and I probably need support because I am stressed out and I am not getting that because I have pushed my partner away. But if I walked into the kitchen and said, I don't know if I'm going to have my job tomorrow, right? And it's really stressing me out. Being able to communicate that enables my partner to show empathy and to show care and love and support of me, which is what I need, which is what will make me feel better and safe and more grounded in the day. Right. So
Excellent,
therein
yeah.
lies the difference, right? When we talk about our emotions, we share our emotions with our partner and the things that we need, we are looping them and we're working as a team, right? But if I'm going out and I am just projecting my emotions in this negative way and pushing my partner away, then it becomes about me against him, right? which is not the issue. The issue is the rest of everything else going on in that example.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, and thank you for that example. So I have one more question which we can answer quickly, and then I have a great question that's coming from the audience that I want to share with you guys as well, and then we'll wrap up in just a couple of minutes. So first, Jazakallah khair, Samira, for sharing that resources, how to strengthen your marriage during COVID epidemic, the fyi.org/toolkit/coronavirus. It's amazing. All of their toolkits are amazing. We'll be highlighting in the next couple of weeks their Ramadan toolkit as well, but this one's available for everyone. And as a reminder to everyone, we shared a link out earlier that is a form so that you can sign up and include yourself as part of account as a registration so that the FYI can stay in touch with you and follow up with you, which is one of the points we'll share as we close as well. So if you guys want to answer this one in just in like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, just are there other habits? We've talked about a lot of different ones, negative and positive. Is there anything that we might have left out from here that you guys wanted to highlight and address? And I guess I'll start with you, Stephen. Is there anything that comes to mind?
So do the things that fill your bucket. We're all like feeling the lash of our corporate overlords if we're lucky enough to have a job. The idea like, well, I have to kill it so I keep my job. That's not going to fill your bucket, I don't think. For me, I personally like to make YouTube videos. I do YouTube videos in two different things. I do YouTube videos around the nonprofit community, people how to raise funds, how to manage their nonprofit. And obviously, I do marriage and relationship YouTube videos. I do them very infrequently. People can find that at Stephen Hernandez Nonprofit Fundamentals on YouTube. But it's something that I enjoy doing. They're very crudely shot. I shoot them on my phone. But it's something that fills my bucket. It allows me to kind of get my creative side out there, and it's something that refreshes me. And so when you can, you have to be intentional about doing the things that will drop your stress, that will allow you to kind of get that energy out there in a way that's healthy. Taking care of yourself will allow you to take care of other people.
Nice, thank you, and yourself as well, Sister Maryam.
I think that's a great suggestion, Stephen. I would also say laughter, right? Not every disagreement or point of contention needs to be an issue made out of it. Sometimes laughing over certain things is enough to make a point and also reduce the tension and build a connection with your partner.
Excellent, thanks. And I posted your link there as well, Stephen. I'm looking forward to checking out those YouTube videos as well. We'll share more of the links for either of you as well as for the FYI. So the last question, I think, as we wrap this up, you could each take a minute or so on it. And it's a question of, are these good times to seek family counseling virtually? So I guess that's the main question that I want to ask. If FYI or Nasiha offer it, great, and we'll make sure we get those posted as well. So that's the question that came from the audience, and I think it's an excellent question, especially because if you're seeking it, it's most likely not available for you in person. So what are your thoughts about seeking that virtually, and is it offered by the FYI or Nasiha?
So I think family therapy versus couples therapy versus individual therapy, these are different things. Virtual family therapy is a lot harder, I'll say. But couples therapy I've done virtually. I've done individual sessions virtually. That is something that's absolutely there. This might be a very good time to seek these resources because there is a need, and if it's coming to that point, then things are escalating within an individual or within a couple where it's better to address it than to not, right? And so let's do it. There's people who are in more crisis. Anxiety is up, depression is up. All of these things are happening. So yeah, please, you should be seeking out therapy if you need it, right? People kind of really push therapy off till the last resort, and I would say that's not a very good idea. The sooner you engage in therapy, the more there is that connects you to your partner to hold on to, right?
Hmm.
But if two people already hate each other and they can't stand to look at each other and they want someone to come in and to kind of make peace when they've made their decision that they want to leave, that's not going to happen, right? There has to be something that connects you guys to each other in order for a therapist to work with.
Nice.
So
Thank you.
Nasiha does offer, by the way, therapy and virtual counseling, but within New York only. So, but
Okay.
we can connect you with resources that are local to people who might need it.
Thank you. And again, for the person who asked that question, we'll try to post the more links here. Yourself as well, Stephen, what are your thoughts on kind of, we have your YouTube channel, so we're going to, get that advice there. But what are your thoughts on sort of seeking out professional help virtually?
My answer is short and sweet. It's always a good time to seek out resources and help if you feel that you need it. Point blank. The vehicle or the vector doesn't really matter. If you feel that there is a need there, and again, a need, when I say need, that doesn't mean like the house is on fire, literally or figuratively. It just means that like, okay, we're having an issue here. It seems like we can't resolve it on our own. So let's seek some resources. It's always a good time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I want to thank both of you again. This has really been a pleasure. Mashallah, I had seen Stephen before on one of the live casts with the youth team. Sister Maryam, this is the first time with you as well. I hope you both enjoyed the experience. I'm confident that the audience as well would have had an excellent experience. Thank you everyone who is participating in the chat and the conversations here. So just as we wrap up here, I will say just a few words as we close this out. One, the links and the information, mashallah, the FYI has amazing information and links. Please check those out. They were shared here. We'll try to include them in more of the messages when we send these messages out to the public. In addition, anything that you might have seen or found value in this program here, take a moment, share it with someone. We're live on YouTube right now. You can reshare that link after this. And just talk to someone else about it. You'd be surprised how valuable it is for each of us to have walked away. Mashallah, there was, a good group here. Any of us can walk away from this and share something, even if we're not fully practicing it. And let's be honest, some of these techniques are good starting points. Some of them are things that require a lot of time to work on, but don't be shy. Share it with someone. You might even be able to work together with it, to work together with your spouse or whoever it might be. I do apologize to anyone if there was sound quality issues, and we apologize, of course, for this Facebook Live issue. Sometimes these things are out of our control. At this point, I think there have probably been enough Zoom events and calls that we've seen the full gamut of experiences that are possible. And I think many of you have had as well. But of course, we want to do our best to create a positive and enjoyable experience from you guys, even from a technical perspective. So again, if there is something valuable from this program, share it with someone. Let us know. Let the speakers know. We have their bios shared with the FYI site. Stephen and Maryam, if you don't mind, also I'll ask both of you if you can post it here or share it with us, and we'll try to share it out. If there's ways that people want to get in touch with you directly, I know, Stephen, you have your YouTube channel, and Maryam, I know you're with Nasiha, so we can find those or share those there as well. Thank you, Samira, for providing the to find a therapist link. I think that's excellent. And Linda, Maryam, everyone that's been posting here, I really appreciate that. So with that, I want to close with just a couple of quick announcements for the upcoming week. First and foremost, again, if you have a chance, sign into that link for taking note of who was able to be here. Inshallah, the FYI can connect with you. Go to their site, look up their information, connect with them, sign up to their email list. They have incredible programs and incredible events even beyond this collaboration that we've been doing. Second, there's a Ramadan goal setting workshop. So mashallah, we're in the month of Sha'ban. I ask everyone, ask Allah to bless everyone's month so far. We're past the halfway point. So we're approaching just really a couple of weeks away, and I pray to Allah that He gives us the opportunity to witness Ramadan. As much as I think each of us are thinking about how sad we're going to be because of the state of things going into Ramadan, I'm even more hopeful and confident now from after this session that there is an opportunity to make this Ramadan the most memorable Ramadan. And of course, I recognize that around the world and even here, it's an ongoing challenge. And I pray to Allah to help those first responders, those individuals that are still working in the grocery stores and the shipping companies, and any place that they're putting themselves at risk, to create, an opportunity for the rest of us to basically sit at home and, receive deliveries for everything that's available to us. I ask Allah to make it easy for them and to protect them and their families. If you or anyone that's, part of this program or has attended before that might be sick right now because of this virus, I ask Allah to give them, a full and complete cure. But as I said, Ramadan is coming up, and there is a goal-setting workshop by our very own Samir Nasruddin from San Diego. So that's going to be tomorrow. We'll post the information from that. Check us out on the Facebook pages and the social media pages. Everything that you'll need to find, you can go to MuslimAmericanSociety.org and you'll find links to these events. But if you're interested, that's happening tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. It's a 2-hour workshop on goal setting. I've seen Samir do this before. I've been part of it. It's a really excellent and different approach. It's not the typical approach of just giving you general advice. He has practical tools and techniques that you can apply, and it's also similar to the practical tools and techniques that you guys would have. It's the practicality of it is the same as it was tonight, so I think there will be a lot of value in that. Of course, if you see value in this, we would love for you to become sustainers of this program, the Daily Focus program in particular, as well as all the great work that Muslim American Society is doing in the local chapters, as well as with the national team. And we will be back tomorrow night, inshallah. Tomorrow night is going to be a really exciting night. It's our collaboration night with Yaqeen Institute. We will have Imam Omar Suleiman, Sister Tasneem Akayik, and Dr. Hisham Abdullah, talking about the intellectual challenges that we are facing in this time as Muslims. So looking forward to that. May Allah bless every one of you. Thank you again for everyone who is sharing the links here. I pray that Allah gives you a blessed night and blesses your families and your communities. Thank you again, Sister Maryam and Brother Stephen. It was really a pleasure to be on this session with you guys. I definitely took away a lot. May Allah bless every one of you. Keep being safe out there. Keep looking for opportunities to brighten up someone else's day. And inshallah, we'll take this one day at a time together. With that, I will close the program. This has been the Mass Daily Focus program. I ask Allah to bless every one of you in the time and this opportunity for us to come together. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And I will go see Amir if the internet was being tampered with by my wife. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.